So, about 2 years ago, before I started doing YouTube, but right after I started streaming, I made what I think is my first Kitbash since I was a little kid. Her name is Sepanai the Gold Eater. She's a custom Necron. This was before Geomancers existed. I just really like the idea of robot centipede monsters. And I made her out of Canoptic Wraiths and the old Technomancer I had from when I was a child. She's since broken, and I have since learned a lot about kitbashing. So I'm going to do a few things to fix her up in this episode. First, as you may notice, she's got two bases. That's because this is to run her as a Cryptech, or I guess now it's a Technomancer. And this was to run her as... Why can't I remember his name? Not Sakaar, that's the vampire lady. Oh my god. The fucked up spider guy. The guy who's behind it all. The man behind the slaughter. Caesaris. Illuminator Caesaris. So one thing I want to do is finally finish her basing. I finally want to get her like a proper base. People were telling me make it maybe look like this is a teleporter and then this is like some ruin, like Necron ruins. So we're going to be doing that. There's a few things with how these legs are attached, like this one's backwards for no reason. If you notice here, these ones, they're different size because I didn't realize they were different, so I'm going to fix stuff like that. And then I'm going to clean, once she's all together, clean her back up, paint job-wise. I don't think she's actually that bad, but, you know, there's going to be breaks and gaps based on everything I've done. So let's start by fixing those arms. I guess they're technically legs, not arms, but, you know. So that's, I think I want to have the bigger ones be higher so that they're more like shrinking down in size. So this one, well, first let me see. I don't remember if I pinned these or not. It's looking like, yes. That's going to make them really easy to swap out. This one's also upside down. Which I guess I was thinking like, oh, they can spin 360, but it doesn't look right. Move that one with another pin. It may have also been just the way I pinned it, is that was the only way it would ship. Only way it would fit, and it was before I like knew that I could make better decisions. Okay, move this one. It's really like just plucking them off of bugs. Oh, cool, that doesn't work now because one's in here and one's in there. Okay, I got it out of there. So let's try this on for size. Try and line up those balls. The fact that I pinned these is going to make this so much easier. Yep, look at that. Oh, easy. Easy peasy. If you're watching this video, I'm like the week it comes out or the week after, depending on how long it takes to edit, which hopefully isn't too long. This is a bit more of a casual video than my usual ones. It's live recorded, for example, because I don't have time to edit a full video, and that's because I am going to Adepticon at the end of this month. I'm so excited. It's going to be my second Adepticon. Last year was some of the most fun I have ever had, and I'm just, it's going to be so good to see everyone again. So if this does come out in time, which I want because I want to have a video every month, and this will be my March video, and you're coming to Adepticon, come and look for me. I'm gonna have my Trench Crusade warbands with me, which means I'm going to have my the Shrine Anchorite I made a few months ago. I'm probably going to be running that in the campaign I'm in. So in that case, yeah, I see why this happened. It's because of the way I drilled it, which, you know, now I know better. I can just fix that. Guess I would rather have it be like here, so I can fix the drill on both those accounts. Now, the drill bit that I used for this originally has broken, so I'm gonna go one smaller, I think, because any bigger would kind of rip everything up. But yeah, if you find me at Adepticon, you can look for that Shrine Anchorite, or you can look for my hair. I look like my model. I was wondering, guys, let me know down in the comments, how do you feel about, like, videos that are more kind of casual chatting like this versus the more, like, organized post-voice recording ones? Because these ones, honestly, are probably more fun to record, but I get it if people like the more kind of official tutorial style ones. You know what I never use enough of? My fucking tweezers. The things that are meant for picking up small things. They're just really annoying for me to use. I don't know why. I think I'm just have bad tweezer practice. I just tried squeezing that as if it was normal, as if it didn't have a built-in squeeze thing. Because it's a... what's it called? It's like a precision bottle, which has actually been a fucking godsend. I recommend it. If you have to use a lot of super glue for pinning while kit bashing or use a lot of resin bits, get a precision bottle of the Gorilla Glue super glue. That stuff is nice. It's just one of the like plastic bottles, but it's in a bigger box where it helps you squeeze it, so you waste less by having. Okay, I'm gonna re-drill this hole actually and go one size smaller. I'm gonna drill the hole. Well, actually, do I want to drill the hole within the hole? No, because it's a little too... I'd rather put the hole on the ball properly. Ah, so much better, but let's put the one below it first. Make sure it's the right size. It is. It'd be really embarrassing if in my fixing I messed it up again. How do I want to do it? Let's do it more like this so it's more in line with the others. You also have to check across everything else. Like, clearly how that wouldn't work because it moved. So let's push this back in. I think it before that went in between. That may have been another reason why it was pointed that direction. Let's just move it around. There we go. Oh, hey. Push it back on fully, and then we take this and we turn it so it goes kind of around there. Yeah, so it goes right in front of it like that. So we'll do it more like that, and then we can use that connection point from it touching the thing. But now we're gonna let that sit. And now that the legs are all solidly reattached, let's use something that I didn't know existed when I made this. Sprue goo! That's such a good... So if you don't know, sprue goo is when you combine sprue and glue. Some people call it sprue glue for that reason, but it's goo. You just put it in like a thing of Tamiya extra thin cement, and you melt it, and it comes on like a paste, and then it hardens into like proper plastic. So I'm going to use that to fill up the holes from the old ones, as well as this dries, layer it up into more of like a ball again. Okay, where else did I have to re-drill? Over here? Sprue goo is a little bit weird on mechanical bashes like this because it's a little goopy, but you can also like scrape it off, sand it off, because it just becomes plastic as mentioned. But, okay, I think this one's pretty much all set. It's amazing with flesh, especially like Nurgly flesh, because it just adds that goopy, gross texture. Speaking of texture, there's some old places where it was glued, like over here. It could now be like being shaved down. Alternatively, you could use like green stuff or milliput to sculpt that, but for something this minor, a few layers of sprue goo is usually pretty good. And now it's finally time to connect them. Like that. I'm going to use a little bit of sprue goo to fill any gaps that might show up. And then it'll harden super tight. I think before I just used super glue, which is why it broke when she fell. But because plastic cement isn't sticky, it's a chemical reaction, especially with sprue goo, which just has to like harden. You gotta be really careful with it now, but it also gives us a bit of wiggle room. So for example, I'd like her to tilt slightly more, so that's more of a centered piece right there. A little harder to tell there, you see? So just tilt it like that. And now we just let it dry again. So while we wait for that to dry, it's time to work on the base. I already, before that happened, used a Sharpie to mark out where the smaller base goes so that it can just plop in. And we're going to be using some plasticard to make the texture. Let me just get a black Sharpie, or any color Sharpie, doesn't matter, as long as it shows up on the white. Got a purple one. Makes sense, given everything. Let's just do this. It'll overhang slightly, but that's fine. You can kind of just cut it off. It's also fine if we're a little messy. I never use plasticard without, like, painting over it. And then the best way to get it out here is just to use scissors. There we go, basically the perfect size. Now here's a real question. Does the magnet still work through here? It does! So I actually... part of me is like, maybe I want to just keep this so I can pop it on wherever, rather than have to slot it in. And the other part of me is like, well, then it's too risen and looks like a base. But if I make it look like a raised teleportation dais or something, it could work. I feel like it just needs to be more integrated. So I think I am going to cut it, actually. And now I realize I've got to retrace out that whole circle because I can't see it. So I'm just going to go as center as possible. Trace around here. I guess the idea is we'll just try and line them up, but it honestly doesn't matter too much since the magnet goes through. And we can just cut out like this. Honestly, a smaller pair of scissors would be nicer, but still doable. I'm okay cutting through that first circle because they're going to be like grooved anyway. There we go. And I could keep this actually to use other things. So this is pretty brutal, but would you like that? And then we plop this in here. Perfect. I've also noticed while that's happening, a leg's popped off right here. I feel like this leg tends to pop off because it goes around that. I think I'm just what I'm going to do is use super glue to stick it in place and then put sprue glue around it. So we go here and here on the side of the base. It's part of the reason why it can't be fully embedded is that there's overhang that goes down the side. Take this, put it there. Let that dry, and once it's dried, I'm going to put some sprue glue on to like chemically bond it all together. There we go. And now that makes it look less just like a base because she's like interacting with it. I think it's easier if I just cut it into 2 halves actually. Maybe I should have done that first for cleaner encircled cuts. Getting that nice kind of cleaner inside. See that knife flex? That's a little scary. Bring upside down is always better, as I say, because you can't see the markings. So I think I'm gonna fine. I'm gonna take one of my sanders. A rougher sander's better for this. Lower grit means it's rougher, which means it'll take off more chunks, so it'll be less clean, but we don't really care too much about it being super smooth. We just want it to not be as chunky. Wish this table shook less when I did stuff like this. I'm so scared of like knocking everything over. I feel like when I'm sawing or sanding. Hey, let's get that glued on. I'll be a super glue for this because I don't trust plastic glue with plasticard, even though it technically should work. It's just, I don't know, I haven't had the best experiences with it. Okay, and while we still have time to adjust it, let's test this. Perfect! And now we let that dry as well. So I've been sanding this down just so it fits better with the base, and this is going to take a while. So while it does, I thought I would explain Sepanai's lore. So Sepanai, also known as Sepanai the Gold Eater, is a Technomancer who advised the Ferrec of the Order of the Golden Scarab, which was a Necron Legion. I forget what they actually called. The Pharaoh Houses. I forget exactly what they're called. But she had an issue with her necrotransference, where the living metal, the necrodermis she's made out of, does not naturally regenerate. If she dies, she is fucking dead. But lucky for this this Pharaoh house, their Catan shard is of a Catan named the Golden Scarab, who I also want to kitbash sometime in the future using the Void Dragon. That's been sitting on my shelf. It's gonna happen eventually. Maybe this will help me get into it. I was very excited by the new what are they called? Necron detachments, for multiple reasons. It's making me think about getting back into Necrons. The Golden Scarab's flesh is able to restore basically anything it touches to life / reattach things. And it basically, this Pharaoh house would use the flesh of the Gold Eater to repair themselves beyond normal means, which is why they have a lot of gold and kintsugi style, kind of the inspiration for the whole Legion. So, what Sepanai ended up doing is she went mad with her own fear of death, killed the pharaoh she served, and ate him, thus eating all of the gold from the Golden Scarab out of his body, and used that to restore herself. So what she does on the battlefield, if she's ever scared that she's in risk, she'll start devouring her troops to eat their gold out, which will then permanently kill them, but save her. And that's why she is Sepanai the Gold Eater, and why she's got like this massive maw mandibles. Okay. So now, let's place her right in there. Boom. There's a little, there's a few gaps that would need to be filled. That's fine. I'm probably going to end up filling those with, like, a milliput or something. What I'm going to do now, though, is add in some Necron-y, lines that I'm going to carve out. Something like that. Now I'm going to let those dry, so I'm not just smudging them everywhere, before I carve them out with my knife to add in that indent into the actual floor. I'm also thinking, actually, now I think about it, for the gaps here, I think I'm just going to use some Astro Granite, because I'm probably going to put that over everything for texture. I'm just going to fill the gaps with that. So here, I am just dremeling out the base, and then I'm carving it out with my knife, and covering it with Astro Granite. I'm just going through all this really quickly because there's not much to go on, and then I start painting it up to get that nice kind of like sandy texture. Now, using a mix of sand texture paints and lots of sand texture paste and lots of paint, I've given a pretty suitable kind of ruined old dusty ancient base, but I think it needs a little bit more, so I'm gonna make these as well as some other glowing red like lines and runes across it to really make it kind of stand out more, because right now it looks a little shit. But I also added some of the paste here to kind of make it look like she's been crawling through the dirt. Honestly, it should be on all of them, but I like the idea that these ones she treads on most and she's like clearing up. I also realized this isn't really telling any of her story. I've got to put a dead Necron, or multiple, on here, which would have been really nice to think about before I painted everything so I could prime them. So instead I will put them on now. You know, and have him, like, her, like, eating the gold out of it. I might even, like, put a thing up here to attach to there. Maybe, like, drill a tiny hole, and then when I put on this bait, I can put in a, like, brass rod that kind of looks kind of gold and just, like, shove it in there. I don't know yet. I like the idea that she physically eats it more than uses the resurrection orb. So we'll figure it out. So, this is where we left off. And most people I talked to have agreed with me, not decided, that I need some sort of glow on the base, like I said. So we're going to do that now. Pop her off. I'm going to do this in 2 steps. I'm going to use a white ink to fill in these gaps that I carved, and then a red ink will cover those up, and there'll be red inks going across this bigger part. But let's just start with the white ink now, because we'll need a bit to dry. This is a Liquitex Titanium White. Usually when it comes to using an ink as a base for a glow, I'd water it down a bit, but I really want this to be super bright, so I'll not water down the white, but I will probably water down the red. And I'm also going to put some around here. So it's just like peeking out from the edge of the base under whatever sort of dais she is on. Okay, and while that's drying, I am going to start working on the dead Necron on the base. Going through my Necron bits, I have this guy kind of half built and around, already kind of perfect. Can really show the fact that, like, no matter what, she will get you. What I'm going to do is snap the arm off, so that it can be kind of like this, down on the ground, and I'm going to cut up the Necron and add cuts and stuff where the gold would have been, holding him together. And he's just going to lie across it, kind of like this, probably overhang a little bit. This one will probably be more like here. Cut up again as well. So here's the disassembled guy, pretty beat up, pretty destroyed. This is going to be lying kind of like this. These like that. Yeah, I'm thinking just a little bit more on his head. Maybe like right here. And he's all set for once the base is done, and then I can get him primed up with a brush primer once he's glued on, and we can get her finished up. I used the Liquitex red ink at first to fill in all those gaps, but it ends up being a little too pink, so I actually go over with the contrast ball red, which is a much like more vibrant red, and that ends up giving it this final pop. So I've got him glued on. I used a mix of PVA glue and some super glue for various strengths and wanting to, you know, not have too much of the frosting. However, I decided to finally check and realize Cesaris and Necrosar, who is another option, are on 80s and not 60s. So I have no idea who she could be on a 60. My thought now is this is just her permanent base, and you can measure from the interior base when she's a Geomancer. It's not like I really play Necrons anyway. Not a Geomancer, a Technomancer. Or she could just be one of those new fancy crucibles, in which case I could just plop her on this 60 anyway and not have to worry about it. Thank you again, everyone, so much for watching. My name is Adristea. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video and its style, as well as the bash. And if you're at Adepticon, make sure to try and find me and say hi there.